shelter, tower of refuge and strength. Let every breath, all that I am, never cease to worship you. Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Power and majesty, praise to the King. Mountains bow down and the seas will roar at the sound of your name. I sing for joy at the work of your hands. Forever I'll love you, forever I'll stand. Nothing compares to the promise I have. Nothing compares to the promise I have. Nothing compares to the promise I have in you.
The Bible really doesn't give you my name, but it doesn't matter. You might know me as a wise man, one of the magi. We magis, our job in the Eastern empires were to study the stars and to get to know history so well we could counsel kings. But we were much more than that. In the empires of Persia and Parthia, we were kingmakers. We handpicked kings and put them on the thrones. To rule in those empires was no little task. My colleagues and I, long before we had ever come on the scene, we knew of other wise men, men like Daniel, who in his time was considered to be one of us. These men had prophesied that one king would come who would rule the whole earth with peace and joy forever. That kind of king, compared to the bloodthirsty, land-hungry people that we had served, that we had enthroned, that kind of king only God could make. One evening we were out in the stars, out in the desert, studying the stars and just to talk, when suddenly from the horizon came one that we had never seen before. It was brilliant. It moved right towards us and hovered overhead so that the glow was all over the desert around us. And then, without even a whisper, it sped its way west, accelerating until it was gone. Could this be? Could this be our sign that this king had come? We agreed it was. We headed home and packed everything as quickly as we could. What do you pack when you might be meeting the forever king for the first time? Well, you pack your best. We took gold, fit for a king, and put it in coffers. We took frankincense, fit for kings, and put them in baskets. We took a small vial of perfume, an oil called myrrh, prized by kings, and used to prepare bodies for burial. All simple gifts fit for the king. And we made our way the way the star had gone, to the west, where we would have to cross the wild fringes of the Roman Empire and go right into its heart. By night, on our trip, the sun scorched our feet. By daytime, the sun scorched our feet. At night, we shivered with the cold. Bandits were everywhere lurking, but we weren't deterred. We were headed towards the royal city of Jerusalem. Day after day, week after week, month after month, we traveled 1,000 miles. And finally, at a distance, we saw the city, and it did look royal. But up close, it reeked of filthy beggars and foul-mouthed merchants and of fear. The kingmakers are here. Run, hide, whatever are they here for? Every street emptied, every window closed tight, every door slammed shut. You there, you. Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We have seen his star in the east, and we have come to worship him. King, a new king. There hasn't been a king here in these parts for as long as Herod has been here. Herod is old, he's sick, but he's still the king. You wouldn't want to be one of his princes, no. Better be one of Herod's pigs than his prince. He's killed 3 already. There's no newborn king here. Herod is king. You best be going. Oh, the news of Herod was not new news to us. We knew that he had bludgeoned and bloodied his way to the throne. He didn't belong there. He had usurped his place on that throne. But we kept looking for this new king.
I come straight from King Herod to you. What have you been doing here?
Said the slimy man that found us in the empty street.
News of your troublesome questions have reached all the way, echoing through the streets of Jerusalem, all the way to the palace. And King Herod has summoned you now, post haste, to see him.
We weren't quite sure what we wanted to see with King Herod, but when we arrived at the palace, there he was.
What would bring kingmakers into my kingdom, slinking in without advanced notice?
Highness, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We've seen his star in the east, and we have come to worship him. King, a new king. I am king. I am a religious man. Did you see my magnificent temple that I have built as a monument to me, to my love for God and for his people? I too am a religious man. But let's get back to the point. Why have you, kingmakers, intruded? Sire, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We have seen his star in the east, and we've come to worship him. Scholars, come. Scribes, bring your scrolls. Answer their questions. Well, sires, from the scroll of Micah. But you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are the least among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be king, ruler, like a shepherd over my people Israel. Why did he stop? Why did he stop with that? The prophet didn't stop. The prophet kept going. This one who would be ruler of his people Israel had origins from of old. from ancient times. Well, Herod scattered them from his throne room and said, so, when did you first hear about this new king? Was it from that star? The star was moving, eh? When did you first see the star? You've come to worship him. Yes. Well, Bethlehem is your town. You go and make a careful search for the boy, for this new king. And when you have found him, come back and tell me where I can find him too, so that I too can worship him. It was like a breath of fresh air to be out of that palace. We made our way, once we found the little track to Bethlehem, we made our way almost the 10 kilometers to the little town, little village that was surrounded by beautiful fields full of sheep, bouncing with shepherds who were full of accounts of angels that had lit up the night sky some time before, that had announced good news of great joy that would be for all the people. The angels, they said, had told them they could find this newborn in a manger, in a food trough, behind a stable. And there, they said, such happy news, they had worshiped him. Could this be the one? Could this be the one that the star had indicated to us that we should come and see? Well, just like that, the star appeared again over our heads, and it shone and moved right over Bethlehem, over a house. And we knew we were to go there. When we went in, there he was, the child with his mother. We've named him Jesus, like the angel commanded us to, for he will save his people from their sins. You know, the angel also told us that he would be the forever king. How can this be? How could it be? How could this be? I had pictured a palace. I had pictured banners and trumpets and guards and attendants and gold and everything that glitters. And here we were with the forever king kneeling on a dirt floor. How could this be? For 500 years, we kingmakers have been dreaming of this. But we worshiped. We bowed low before this boy king. And adoration welled up in my heart like I had never felt before. Such peace from this Prince of forever peace. And we gave him our gifts. Gifts of gold fit for royalty. Gifts of incense, because his life would be a fragrance to God Most High. And gifts of myrrh to prepare for his burial. After we had worshiped, we stepped outside and made our way to the edge of Bethlehem, where we made camp for the night. We chuckled. Our gifts must have seemed so insignificant when compared to the kind of gifts that Herod could lavish on this young king. We went down for the night, but in the middle of the night, all three of us had the same dream together. We were startled awake. Leave now. Don't return to Herod. Go by another way. For Herod does not intend to worship this king, but to kill him. We did. We obeyed right away. We saddled up our camels. We broke camp and disappeared into the night by another way. If God could provide and guide us to see this king, to worship him, God perhaps could protect this king from being destroyed by the tyrant. Perhaps our gifts would be some help. Years later, we still were amazed at that day when we had the privilege of worshiping the forever king. They call us kingmakers? No. This child has always only ever been the eternal king. This child was the king that God had prepared from eternity to come, not to come bent on conquest, but to stoop to serve you and me like one of us. This king had come not to dominate, but to die out of love for you and me, to take all the wrongs that you and I have ever done and to take them to the cross on himself. This highest king stepped to the lowest places for you and me to rescue us from our deepest need. The question is this Christmas, do you know him, this king? Do you trust him, this Savior? Are you worshiping him because he came for you? Do you know him as your sin taker and as your sovereign? Do you worship him as your forever Lord? That's the question for you this Christmas. Have you prepared him room